This is AI Governance with Dr. Freddie Seba, a podcast and practical guide to AI oversight for boards and executive leadership.
Yeah. All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of AI Governance with Dr. Freddie Seba. Today, we are very lucky to have a very busy entrepreneur, serial founder, um, talking about a very unique solution that solves real issues, real challenges. And we want to ask him and we want to understand because his solution is focused on healthcare. So he has to work on AI responsibly, all the issues and what have you. So hopefully this conversation is going to help us understand how does he engage with it, how he think about it, and how practitioners in other industries and verticals can engage with AI critically and with discernment. Again, Rosha, in full disclosure, used to be one of my students, and now he graduated, so he's a wizard on everything data science in healthcare. So I want to warn you on that one. So again, Roshan, thank you so much. Welcome to our conversation. I do appreciate you sharing your insight and your practice with the community. That's part of what I guess we all need to do. And two questions I'm going to start you. A, why should anybody listen to this postcard, you and I talking? And B, do you mind properly introducing yourself and properly introducing your company and what it does and where you are on the process, on the stage, fundraising, partnerships, and what have you. So welcome again, Roshan. So why should somebody listen to us?
Professor Seba, thanks for having me over here. Yeah, my name is Roshan, and we've been working on this product for like about almost 3 years ago back in Bangalore. It was co-founded. It was founded by my co-founder. It was his brainchild. He came up with a solution where there's a monitoring hub that's given to the patients at home, so they can take their vitals like ECG, blood pressure, blood glucose, vitamin, like basic vitals, and all of these data is aggregated and given to a provider. So providers have like a chart on how the patient's vitals are improving or deteriorating, so the medications could be adjusted accordingly, right? So we started from there, and the problem like really it concurred with me because my dad was a kidney patient and he had to go through a kidney transplant, and he had to monitor his vitals on a daily basis. And he maintains these huge logs of books with writing all this BP and writing all the blood glucometer data. And then he takes to the doctors, and the doctors are like spending 20 minutes of the time just flipping through the pages to understand how it's like fluctuating, right? And only 10 minutes of the time is spent on actually diagnosing or like speaking with the patient. So I jumped on board. We were like, okay, let's do this. We started the company. We like registered a company in Bangalore, and then his name is Mallikarjun, my co-founder. He made a trip to San Francisco, like he attended Stanford, and there he understood from his research that a product market fit is in the US. So I packed my bags. I spoke to you, in fact, Professor Seva, and I was like, hey, this is what we have. Do you have a place for me in USF? And you said, yes, absolutely, for health informatics. And it made sense, like taking up that studies. I was a product designer, and this was like a complete shift for me, like jumping into health tech, right? And you gave me a place in the cohort. I started my classes, and ever since then, I've been having a lot of clarity with the direction that I need to go. So that's about me. Now I can maybe like start talking about the product and the solution that we are working on, right? So what we have found out over here is there are a lot of RPM solutions, right? And they leverage CPT codes for their billing. But still, all of these, there's RPM solution, there's insurance provider, then there's provider, and then there's a patient. And all of these workflows are like still fragmented, and RPM solutions are like just using the billing codes to like maximize the profits as well. So, but because of the fragmentation, and because they're only focusing on the billing, the patients are like not really experiencing a really clean workflow for monitoring these vitals, right? And patients have to like connect these devices, like these blood pressure devices are given to them, and they have to connect it to their mobile phone, and then they're not tech savvy. And we are talking about people who are 65 plus, right? So we were like, okay, we need to make this easy for them. There is existing technology. There's Google Home. There's Apple's ecosystem. So why not bring that into healthcare, right? Why can't we just use a voice agent instead of having 12 steps to create a routine or like 8 steps? You can just reduce it down to like 2 steps just per voice interaction, right? So I brought my like product design knowledge into this to like clean out the user experience for these workflows. So now what we have done is we created a hub, and the hub has like medical peripherals, like wireless peripherals, synced with it from the warehouse itself. So as soon as the patient unboxes the device, they just have to click a button, it turns on, and the device ID and the patient ID is already synced by the provider. And they'll have like an onboarding process where the device says, "Hey, welcome," with the name of the patient itself. Like if it's Lisa, like, "Hey, welcome, Lisa," and you wear the blood pressure cuff, just take the recording and then put it back. And as soon as the test is done, the data is like synced to the hub, and then it goes to the doctor's portal. So doctor's portal is like another vertical that we built for the physicians or the care team to like have a look at the aggregated vitals or the chart of the patient over a period of time. So there's now the doctors and the patients are like connected with this ecosystem, right? They made it easy for the patients to collect their vitals, schedule an appointment, get on teleconsultation calls, and for doctors to like view all of these information and package it in a way that they can send it to their payers so they can leverage the CPT codes. So okay, now 3 pieces were connected, but now there is prescription as well, right? And so we were like, okay, fine, let's package it. Why don't we trigger a workflow for prescribing the medication to the patient as soon as we get the diagnosis from the doctor, right? So the doctors don't have to wait for them to like bill it, give it to the payer, and the payer kind of like has a prior authorization workflow to decide if this medication has to be reimbursed or not. And so that's like a 2-day, 3-day gap, right? Maybe lesser, right? So it's like all you have to do is like make all of these things work parallelly, right? So in other industries, you see like there's something called escrow layer, where the platform itself is like a bank. It's like a payment layer. So a payer or the provider, everyone parks their money over there, and unless the delivery or a task is fulfilled, they don't get paid, but they see that the money is there. So that kind of gives a confidence to each of the stakeholders involved, like, okay, you know what, we can actually execute this. And in January 2026, there's a new thing called DSCSA code. So every prescription has a code, right? And all the pharmacies are supposed to have an inventory like logged with the DSCSA code. So we can leverage, and that happened this year, which is great for us. Maybe not good for like a lot of other pharmacies right now, because they have to like set up this infrastructure, and it's going to take some time, right? But it's good for like health tech companies coming out in the market right now, because they just have to make sure, because there's this code, they can track the medication, track everything, and make sure if anything gets stuck anywhere, they can just clear it out. So we're like, okay, now there's an escrow layer. So you can actually optimize all of these workflows instead of like a 3-day or like a 4-day thing into like 1-day thing. And you can always partner with like a logistics company or like a delivery company for the last mile solution of actually delivering the medication to the patient. Patient gets the medication, they scans it through the mobile phone, then all the triggers in the escrow layer gets triggered, and so everybody gets paid. And we're like, okay, this is good. Maybe this is what we need to go for, right? And that's where the business model is. That's where probably we're going to make money, and not in the RPM billing codes. So that's what we're building right now.
Thank you. It keeps evolving, I guess. So you are building, so thank you for giving us. So you're building a mission critical, I would say. I mean, you are going after a population that is not tech savvy. So you
Yeah.
had to build a hardware component to it to aggregate
Yes.
all these gadgets. I mean, you know the pain because you went through it for a long time with your parents. So this is not foreign to you. You brought together your designer background and your new data scientist hats to figure out the workflows, but also the legal aspect to it, the compliance aspect. You are regulated. You are in US. You're basically sitting in San Francisco, close to me as we speak. So this is your market, and all of these things are highly regulated. And I believe you are going after FDA approval pretty soon, which is part of the fundraising that you're basically the next stage in your company. So how do you go about using AI for all of that, and how do you keep it responsible? How you keep all these compliant layers? Because you cannot afford hallucinations, because if somebody gets that medication, get it wrong, I mean, these are human beings at the other end. So can you walk us how you think about it, how you conceptualize this, all that data going back and forth, and um,
Yeah. There are a lot of AI agents that's being leveraged to fix certain healthcare workflows, right? And clinical workflows. Just to give you an example, ARPA came out with a proposal where any providers, any health tech companies, whoever is interested can create a proposal saying they would create an AI agent that can help with cardiovascular diseases. And this will be deployed in the rural areas and completely autonomous. So it's actually acting as a doctor. So you can speak with it. It can prescribe you a medication. It can prescribe you. It can like act as a doctor essentially, right? And that's a big vision, right? And it's not easy. And I'm sure they're giving a blank check to companies to like actually execute this. So yeah, I mean, we applied, we didn't get through. Okay, that's fine, but we at least we know that we're going the right direction because that's what we want to build as well, right? And we are like really nascent for ARPA to even like consider us at this stage. So what ARPA want companies to do is like create an individual AI agent that actually caters to a disease and prescription, and there could be like multiple AI agent, and they're asking another company to build a supervisor agent. So that governs how each of these agents work and if they're hallucinating or not. So, and the governance AI gives a check, like if it can pass through. So it's kind of, it kind of tells a story that you can't just rely on one agent. You need to like rely on multiple agents, and for governance, there should be like another agent. So like every milestone of this workflow is like clean, like right. So we're like, okay, maybe that's what we need to do in our company as well. So we have an agent, we have like sub agents within the device itself, and then like a main agent to making sure that all the data that's collected by the patient on the hub is aggregated properly. And if the patients need some help with respect to like retrieving information, there's like another agent for it. And once all of this is packaged, then it's sent to the doctor's portal, and there's like there's an AI layer on top of the doctor's portal to see how to make sense of all this numerous data points that they're getting from the patients, right? So they just have to like maybe prompt or like ask like, hey, how is this patient doing? And if because they'll be having so many patients in their network or in their they have to provide care for, right? Um, any critical patient that needs like immediate care, that's also like prioritized. And so there's a triage system made for that as well. So there's AI involved in that. Now to make sure, now we're still working on the governance layer just to make sure that that everything is actually going smoothly. So that's where we are at, and still we're still working on it, and we're like very confident to like get this out in the market soon. Yeah, so that's where we are. This gave us actually a good idea about okay, because we are working for the device and the platform, why not create an agent and train or work with that for our internal use itself within the organization? So we built like Ausa Brain to
Okay.
call it. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, or so they don't have to depend on the other co-workers, right? So they can get their like things done. They can pull out information. They can get documents from OneDrive or from Google Drive, whichever we are using. We are using both, and they can just get like it's easier for them to like get the things done. It's also connected to Jira, so if they want to see like how are the timelines are like and what are other people's timelines are like. So if they have to like plan their work accordingly. As well. So we're like, okay, this is working good. So we are confident that this will start working well in the doctor's portal as well.
Excellent. So thank you for that. So just for our audience, so you are in the early stages of your company. So this is the way you're conceptualizing, in my understanding, just to make sure that what you guys decide is you're building many agents per workflow. And then on top of each one, you're putting, don't trust the agent, you're putting checks and balances to make sure. And again, you're not prescribing, end of the day, this is going to go to a doctor is going to make the call. And of course, they have the layer of compliance on their end, so that somebody's false positive in all the issues. So that's a great way to think about it. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. So how about data bias? I mean, so I'm thinking you guys are going to an older population, most of them with one or two or three chronic diseases, so there's pretty complex. You're aggregating in your hardware several of the devices so they don't have to struggle in where do I put it and go through the exercise that you described with your parents. But everything is a very clean, contained little machine, easy to use. And from that, safely encrypted, you send all the information to your hub. And then from there, you just branch it out, but using the different agents. So, and you are HIPAA compliant, so all the protocols you gotta basically, for those of our audience who are not part of the healthcare community, this is a pretty stringent regulation framework, which you need to basically abide if you're going to work with any of hospitals or pharmacies or what have you. So you guys figure out a way to do it. And you told me before that you guys are doing clinical trials because you're very serious about it. There's a lot of noise with people coming up with, apps and solutions, which at the end they're not proof that they work. Can you walk us through, well, how does that process work and how compliance work and how governance work, especially being AI with a population that is not as technical as, most of the general population as you define. So can you walk us through where are you on it, how you look at those, what type of partners are in them? Are you guys looking for more partners to do clinical trial? Can you walk us through that, please, Roshan?
Yeah. So FDA came up with another guideline where, like very recently, and it kind of draws a line for health and wellness devices. Prior to this, health and wellness devices like working in gray area, and then we got to know about this whole fiasco between FDA and WHOOP as well. So we were like, okay, we have to get our sensors FDA cleared, so medical grade or clinical grade, and so the doctors can actually use it to diagnose their patients. And that is a key component to it, right? Um, because if you're collecting all of this information and if it's not useful to the doctors, then what's the point? Right. So we're like, okay, FDA pathway, we recognize that all of the sensors that we're using are like four of the sensors are class two medical devices. And we had multiple pre-subs with FDA for each of the sensors, got a clarity on how to actually get it to the market, what the regulatory pathway is for these devices, and how do we get to the market. So we had pre-subs and the pathway is clear. So now all we have to do is just like put it all together and working on it and then give it to providers, right? And once the providers have these devices or when they have access to the device, they can give it to the patients. And then the patients can like just start taking the test and then, it just goes. So for the FDA pathway, one of the key components to like get the application ready is doing clinical studies. So for blood pressure, there's like 85 subjects that we need to do minimum. And for body temperature, it's like 35 febrile and 35 afebrile patients. And then for blood saturation, it's still like 12 subjects as per the guidelines, but it's always safer to go for like 24 or 30 or like a little more. We've been in conversation with UCSF Hypoxia Lab, but Hypoxia Lab, what they have is they have like cohorts, and all of these cohorts are like usually filled up by sponsors, right? So if your R&D timeline does not match with theirs, you're gonna get it pushed back or pushed for later. So we found other vendors that we can work with, but we are still thinking of having conversations with a few other SMOs like Base of Texas who can help us out with these clinical studies. And once all of these operations are done, it'll be packaged to our FDA application and then shipped it out to FDA. So
Yeah,
and
talk about governance and compliance. So just to previous conversations you and I had. So just to describe the challenges that you are facing now, not only you're deploying AI agents that need to be compliant with HIPAA for the transferring of the data and privacy and protection, you're also going one step further, and you're trying to get FDA approval as a device, a medical device. So just to basically add more context to what you're saying, you are aggregating existing devices, existing technologies that has been clear already, FDAs. You're creating a better workflow. So these are things that already passed, that already been used by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. But you're trying to solve the issue you saw your parent, and that you see all the physicians you're talking, which is it takes me too much time for me to do it, and for the patients and caregivers connecting all these pieces, doing all this stuff is so that's the pain. So you're putting another layer of compliance, which is not only you are HIPAA compliant or you look to be HIPAA compliant with your AI application, but you also are using FDA approved devices, and you're going to put yet another layer on top that says, I know this passed, but I want to go through the process of, if I aggregate all of those devices, you're not changing, you're just changing the way users interact with it. I want to make sure that the FDA is comfortable, and you want to make sure that it's being tested in the field with real patients and real clinicians. Is that the way you're thinking about it? Am I describing the process and the challenges, especially because you're adding a layer of AI, which is your layer of AI, which is not only creating ease in the way physicians interact with the software, if you will, but also how patients deal with the hardware and how the data get encrypted and transcribed and how physicians analyzes them. So that's the massive challenge that you're looking in, especially as you add AI as a layer on top. Am I describing this correctly? Is that what you
yeah,
guys are
yeah,
trying to solve?
yeah, yeah. Just to clarify on a few things with the sensors, we are taking off the sensors for now, but like how Apple has built up hardware and their own software, so they work in tandem, and that's why it's so seamless, right? The experience. So that's what we're doing. We are building our own hardware, we're building our own software, but the sensors are kind of right now at the moment off the shelf. So when the hardware and the software works together, then the friction between like these two layers is like zero, right? So so that requires FDA clearance, and that's what we're going for. And as soon as we are done with that, then we start working on the AI aspect, because that also, if 'cause AI could be like software as a medical device, but as it starts performing functions as like outside of a software as a medical device scope and gets into clinical decision support, then it goes into like a de novo pathway, and that takes a lot of time. Like that becomes like it could become like a class 3 medical device. And I think there are like a lot of companies right now. There's this one new company like doing it's called Skin Analytics. They're like they got a class three. I mean, I think I'll just take that back. They got the class three clearance in NHS, like so not in US yet, but there that's the goal. So that Skin Analytics company works completely autonomous. Like you don't need a doctor in the loop to identify what kind of lesions or rashes that they have and what's it probably progressing towards, right? So uh, AI as an autonomous layer, that's the goal, and that's going to take some time to get there. But with the device itself, getting FDA cleared, getting into the market, and then having an ambient AI as a support system is what we want to like immediately deliver to the providers out there.
Excellent. So that's the value add. So one of the questions I wanted to get in, and I know some of it for previous conversations you and I had, is what do you focus in your time? And I understand you already raised about $1 million and you're going to be raising more money. And on these clinical trials that you are talking about, you're looking for sites too, other sites that you can do. Can you tell us, is that where you're spending most of your time these days?
Yeah.
Are those the issues that keep you awake at night? And can you add some details on it, please?
Yeah. So right now, because we are like close to the finish of our R&D, the device is like ready. We are identifying sites. We've been trying to identify sites. We have got quotations from them. Now we all we have to do is like as per standard procedure, like within the company, we just have to like go to the sites and validate like what their operations look like, and if they actually match with the quality compliance that we are trying to or like we have kept as a everything for us itself, right? So we are in that process. So that's what keeps me like up. And I was in India, like I just got back a week ago, and it was very difficult to like get on a call with them because we had a night over there, and then it was like day over here. So I like traveled back just to make sure that those things are like smoothened out and it's ready once the device is out, like for clinical trials. So I'm in that phase right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty challenging. I mean, what you guys are trying to do is very unique. Hence, one of my question is governance, especially with AI. There is a big debate of, we don't want to get, it's hard to get a balance, which some of the conversations out there is um, governance, AI governance getting in the way of innovation. So, for our conversation, in this conversation, it seems like you see the layer of governance, security, HIPAA compliance, the fact that you guys are going through an FDA approval of your device. It seems like you're thinking about governance, AI governance, as a strategic advantage that not everybody can do what you guys are doing. And that, of course, is going to prevent from more competitors to get in the market. Can you kind of elaborate on that? That's the way you're thinking. That's why you're investing time and money on making sure you have all these layers of compliance and regulation and going above and beyond what is needed.
Yeah, so when like with AI as a governance layer or AI like within as a software as a medical device itself, right? FDA has come up with tools to make this possible. So there's this thing called predetermined change control plan. So it allows sponsors or companies to create a plan for AI, how it's going to function, and how it's going to be used by their patients. And if there, because it's like you need to keep training it, and changes are going to happen, and you can't keep doing like multiple FDA applications just for like each change, right? So the PCCP, the PCCP track allows companies to create like a like few years of plan and just say this is how it's going to work, these are the changes that are going to happen, and if anything goes wrong, how is it going to get mitigated, and how are adverse effects handled in like very critical scenarios, right? So we are still exploring that pathway, and because we are like really focused on the hardware right now, we're like, okay, we have time, but we don't have too much time to figure that out because that's the goal. So as soon as the clinical trials like start, the SMOs are in it, and we will also be going to the side. We just like we want to be hands on with all of these operations, right? Um, and then we're going to start with how the AI governance layer is going to work within the Ausa Health platform. So that's the goal. Right now, it's functioning as an ambient layer, a support system for the patient and for the doctors, and to make sure that the doctors' workflows with respect to billing, their codes, and if anything, and if they have to like prescribe medications to the like if they have to prescribe medications to the patients, and how the pharmacy layer gets involved in all of this. So we're just trying to automate workflows with all of these stakeholders involved. So that's what we are working on at the moment. Yeah.
Perfect. So it seems like you're creating you're being very proactive, especially for a startup. You're thinking about compliance, you're thinking about mapping it, you have tools, you're following what the government current regulations are and the tools, and you're mapping up. And of course, you're basically designing, you as a designer and you as a data scientist, designing based on that. So basically, you're being proactive in that sense. People outside here, Silicon Valley, they're kind of concerned that, here we love to throw products with no compliance, with no safety, and then we wonder why, so much havoc gets broken out there. But it seems like, which is pretty refreshing to see you as a startup, you guys are already thinking about it. Granted, you're working on a highly regulated industry, but I guess companies or startups in other industry and large companies could learn from your approach, which is, you gotta be proactive, you gotta map it out, you gotta be intentional and very transparent of this is where we want to go, this is where we are, and just learning as you go. But there is a plan that is going to change, but it's not like, oh, let's launch this, see if we get customers, see if we make money, and then, oh, then, by the way, we need security and safety and privacy. So I'm glad to see that. Is that normal in your ecosystem in the health tech for those? Do you see a lot of startups now thinking about, especially with the AI agents, thinking about security and safety and all of that ahead of time? So you
Yeah.
think it is permeating the idea that these are very good tools, but we don't know them well, and we want to make sure that they don't escape in the wild and they're
Yeah.
they have guardrails. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You need to have these guardrails, and you need to like actually document it and give it to FDA. Otherwise, FDA is not going to clear your platform, right? So it's like we're not working in the wind, or we're not working out of like our assumptions. Like every idea that we have, we test it out with a small group, like with pilots, and make sure that everything is all the checks and balances are in place. Only then we can like really prepare the documents and give it to FDA. So it's like it is very regulated, like you said. Yeah, so it's not like, okay, you build something and then ship it out and see if customers like it or not, right? But one thing is like, because we are so focused on the FDA clearance,
Mhm.
right? A lot of founders in medical device or health tech space is like that's where the game starts. Like after you get the FDA clearance, right?
Mhm.
Then what are you gonna do? Then you need to find a product market fit, right? And then you need to see how you're gonna make the dollars uh,
Mhm.
with the device, and who is gonna buy the device. That's a question you keep asking in the classes as
Mhm.
well, right? Who's
Yeah.
gonna pay
Yeah.
for it? Yeah. So it's important that you actually find the product market fit,
Mhm.
and I know like it's not easy to do it because you can't like really ship out the device without an FDA clearance, right?
Mhm.
So, but then there are IRB tools that allow you to like actually create like a small pilot with an IRB approval for a certain like use cases. There are like different use cases with IRB, and you see like how these pilots run, and then you see how it works with the providers, so they can do like an internal pilot within their like a small cohort of patients, right? And see how that works. And once all of this is in place, then you get a little more clarity on your yeah, product market fit, and then that's when like the company starts
Hmm.
growing and all of those things, right?
So IRB, which is Institutional Review Board. So now you're
Yeah.
adding for our audience one more layer
Oh,
of transparency, of rules, of privacy that you guys need to think. So now we're adding on top, like now so far we're 3 or 4 or 5 layers of guardrails, which is great. So do you think that work is underestimated by the ecosystem or by investors or by the places that you're going to deploy those? Because that I assume takes a lot of your time and resources and what have you. Do you think um, people
yeah.
don't appreciate how much it takes to get disapprove on all the layers that you're talking now? IRB, Institutional Review Board, on the site that you're going to test it. And then you have HIPAA compliance, which is the law of the land of how um, privacy in the healthcare. And then you're talking about FDA approval, which is yet another layer. So do you think that's, and I guess I'm asking a question that I guess I know the answer, which is, but I just want to verify. It seems like, is there a appreciation of the value and of the resources that take to design a friendly product that, to your point, could be sold, that could solve problems like the one your parents had, or your parents' doctors have, which is what do I do with 20 pages of handwritten stuff? Um, what do you think? Do you think
Uh,
people know?
yeah, it's like I honestly didn't have any idea about all these regulatory paths and these checks or roadblocks that we have along the way of actually getting the device to the market, right? Uh, but what's interesting is at each of these roadblocks, there's a lot of innovation that could happen, and you see it when you start working in it, and you're like, okay, there is a lot of potential for like a new company to come in and actually make it easier, like a startup coming and making all of these workflows easier, right? And luckily, we got like a really good vendor for IRD. It's a startup as well, and he's made IRB processes like so streamlined that you can like get approvals like really fast, like in a
Nice.
week instead of like 2 or 3 weeks, right? But the only thing is you need to get your documentations in place properly. It's all about documentation. If there are any missing things or if there are gaps, then okay, that's how the timelines increase. So if you have like an internal system and a system with the vendors to like make sure all of these things are like properly done, then it kind of becomes easier to like navigate through IRB, navigate through FDA, and navigate through clinical trials and QMS, quality management system, because the FDA requires that all companies like have it. So that's why we built an EQMS platform internally, and they have automated like a lot of the drafting of templates with AI itself. So we just give it the requirement and we get the template. Um, and so that's like another product we built like when we had some time in the company, and we want to like really start shipping. We're thinking of shipping that out as well. But again, that aside, but so yeah, so it's like yeah, going back to your thing, it's not easy,
Mhm.
but it's simple. It's simple, and there's a lot of room for optimization. And once you like do all of these things, you become like really confident in your FE applications, and we hope that everything like goes well once it's like off your table and in FDA's table, right? Yeah,
Perfect.
and with respect to like investors like, and other people seeing like, oh, is it appreciated? I There are investors who like appreciate, who understands the complexity of these workflows, and but they want to make sure that uh, is a startup able to do it properly or not, and then they want to get involved as well. But there are some investors who actually like depend if they believe in the big team and the team can like actually deliver, then they actually invest like much early on as well. So again, it depends on the founders and how proactive or how efficient you want to be in with respect to like actually getting this to the market, right? And it's always a learning. thing. We keep
It
learning
is
every
always
day.
a learning. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the end of our session. So, Roshan, what's one practical takeaway that you would give to leaders and boards of directors and investors and um, leaders in other industries that are highly regulated, education, financial services, and what have you? So, especially in the context of AI and AI agents and the vision you guys have building, solving real problems for real people in highly regulated industries. So, what is
Um,
one takeaway?
this is something that even I'm trying to like as we go, we're like figuring it out as well. But what it's like with the cloud coming out and getting it integrated into your local computer, it has made things like really easy. Like it,
Mm,
we have gotten to a point where anybody can almost do anything right now,
mm,
right? And if it becomes so easy to actually make a medical device company, like
mm,
actually go through all of these compliances, like really easy, understand the nuances and the jargons of the industry, just starting with that, and then actually drafting all the templates or all the documents that's needed in place to understand like how to navigate an FDA pathway for a particular sensor. And then when you have multiple sensors, okay, that you have to understand all of these things, right? Before the AI like was even in the market, it was like this was a time consuming process.
mm,
Now it's not. So
mm.
it has actually raised the confidence and it has actually helped us to move faster as well. So I think with respect to automating workflows, you should definitely like leverage it as much as possible, even though it costs a bit, like the pro plan of Claude, but still, it's still worth it. Right? And companies are like using this, like
Mm.
they're using it to the fullest, like all the tokens that the cloud can give you, right? So it's great, and we're in a great time, and I'm like really, really happy that we live in a time like this, and I as a human being get to exist right now.
This that's very powerful. And I guess you're saying, look, engage with it. This is the best time to do innovations and transformation, what have you. So, another question. What do you think boards and leaders are not asking? What is it that they should be asking? Given what you just said, this is the best time to be alive, this is the best time to innovate, things are getting much easier, barriers to entry are dropping. So you can solve a lot of real problems out there, like the one that you are basically saying. So, should boards and investors and leaders be asking questions to their companies?
Yeah,
Like, are we
yeah.
engaged? So what is it that they should be asking that they're not? Or they might not be?
Uh, so it's like because all of the startups are coming out with like very efficient way of working with the power of AI, right?
Mhm.
Uh, it's important for like legacy platforms and providers and all of these other like who've been there, like who've been leading the industries to like actually see, hey, these startups are like really moving fast, right? And they're trying to make things easier. And if okay, AI is there, it's very new technology, and a lot of governance and compliance and everything is like required. But if these guys are like moving really fast, and if you don't match up with our speed, then it's just gonna create like a pipeline or like a backlog, like an enormous backlog, right? So that's gonna be like another problem that's gonna
Mm.
like emerge, right? So do the boards and the leaders in the industry like work towards it, like making sure the backlog is not made, or do they want to? I mean, yeah, that's my main question. Like
Mm.
like I think that's what I see. If like both the sides kind of work together, then I think things are gonna be like better. Like they're just gonna get like eventually smoothened out as we go, right?
That's interesting. So you're saying, look, because you guys are startups, you can move really fast because you don't have
Yeah.
the legacy, you don't have all these things moving. So what you're saying, instead of you're moving to a different paradigm, in the past, you think a startup, you think, oh, they're gonna kill the incumbent, whether it's they're gonna disintermediate banks or disintermediate hospitals or doctors or whatever. You say no, 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 no. They should be asking, how can we partner with companies like yourself out there that are innovating at an amazing speed, and instead of reinventing the wheel, they should kind of learn from each other, because there are things that startups like yourself have no access and harder to access, name it capital or patience to use this or distribution channel. But also you can bring a lot of startups like yourself which follow a very stringent um, compliance, AI compliance use and thinking, and are proactive. You should be working together as
Yeah.
opposed to competing again. Oh, that's a pretty powerful way to close this conversation. So, Roshan, congratulations again on the progress on your startup. I've been following you, as you know, for a long time. Um, we're gonna leave Roshan's company email and website there. Feel free just to reach out. They are looking for partnerships, of course, and they're always raising money as a good startup here in Silicon Valley. So, good news, those of you out there who are looking and thinking, okay, robust uh, partnership, and also applications where founders are thinking ahead and want to have products that are fully regulated, fully compliant with several layers, there might be somebody to reach out. So again, Roshan, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to following your path and hopefully have you back in the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Seba. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's good to be
Have a
here.
good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of AI Governance with Dr. Freddie Seba. For more insights, be sure to subscribe and share with a friend or colleague on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Podcasts. To learn more, visit freddieseba.com. Until next time.